Chinese chronicles of 3,000 years ago report Miao people living in the basin of the Yellow River, and China is still the homeland for most of the 3 million of them. Forced into the southern mountains by the expanding Han Chinese, some have migrated into the hills of Vietnam, Laos and northern Thailand. Above the river plains where the Thai people dwell, above the foothills populated by other tribes, the Miao settle at the sources of the mountain streams. The pioneers may be only 3 or 4 men. If the land proves good, they invite close relatives to join them. The news of the discovery soon spreads, attracting other clans. The Miao spend much time cultivating distant mountain fields, either alone or in small family groups. They love to have a crowded village to return to, for friendship, for excitement, for comfort in grief, and for support in death. There are about 60,000 Miao in Thailand. Most have arrived within the last 50 years. They are either blue Miao or white Miao, so called because of the colours of their women's costumes. They can understand each other's dialects and may intermarry, but generally the blue Miao live in areas separate from the white Miao. The areas suitable for the Miao way of life are quite small, confined to the mountain tops and higher slopes. The welcome that first-comers give to clansmen and other Miao leads to overcrowding. Continuous cultivation of maize and poppies on the same land exhausts it. Therefore, every 10 years or so, the Miao group moves on, or perhaps back to areas cultivated long ago. For their food and clothing, for the cash they need to buy other necessities, they rely on the annual round of agricultural activities in their mountain fields. In the territory of the village of Meto, all the crops have been harvested, the poppies, the maize and the paddy. The fields dry in the growing warmth of January and February, and it is too early to burn them off for the new year's planting. This is a suitable time for marriages. In the village of Boré, many miles away, A party from Meto has paid a bride price in silver to the father of La. La has agreed to the marriage. In Meto, preparations for the reception are underway. Chopsticks are made for the wedding feast, the only occasion on which they are ever used. On marriage, a bride passes completely out of her own clan into that of her husband. La's going away is heart-rending for her sisters as well as for herself. Many Miao songs speak of the bride's sadness. This song tells of the wish of a daughter to stay with her parents forever, to love them and to show her gratitude. Now her husband has come for her. She is frightened. He may not be kind. But her parents say they have accepted his price, drunk his whiskey, eaten his pig, and she must go. Although they have said they love her, their actions seem to belie their words. La has arrived at her unfamiliar home. Everyone is excited, but the celebration is largely a men's affair. Lao Phai is speaking for all the clansmen of Suk, the bridegroom. He assures La's father and friends that they follow the same customs, also worship ancestors, and that they will care for La and allow her to return on visits or when they are sick. La is older than Suk. Much later he may take other wives. But La will be the senior, and the others should come only with her consent, although she may feel constrained to give it. The spirit distilled from the maize makes the night even livelier than the day, and all the drinks, by good Miao custom, are taken in pairs, one for one's own good health and one for that of friends. In April, the calling of the cicadas indicates that the time for burning off new clearings made in the previous months has arrived. Warning is given to the spirits of the place, to the souls of trees and animals, to keep away. Land under forest of at least a few years' standing is needed for good paddy. It is scarce now, and the end of the village is drawing near. Maize, and the poppies which are planted after it is harvested, can be grown on the same fields year after year. Broken pottery and malted iron ore are traces of occupation by other tribes centuries ago. At the end of April, the hot, dry season is about to end. Maize is planted first because it germinates more slowly. Fine calculation on the date of the coming rains is less necessary.
tàu nọ thì cũng là càng nhận tàu nọ tàu xe này chồng là con đa đâu.
Men may own separate fields for cash crops, but on maize and paddy fields, all the members of a household usually work together and the crop goes into a common stock. After the first of the planting, there's time for household ceremonies. In Lao Phai's house, a spirit medium or shaman prepares to remove sickness and dangers from household members. Every Miao has several souls, the loss of any of which can make him sick. Sometimes, like straying children, the souls which should be with the earthly body wander away. They are called back and bound within the bodies of the household members. When the omen horns fall in the same direction, all the souls have returned. They are rewarded with a sacrifice. Many men know how to call these ordinary souls back. Much more difficult is contact with the counterpart souls of people and immortal beings who dwell in the other world. This can be made only by the shaman through a special spirit which takes over his body when he shakes. The adventure to the spirit world may take 1 or several hours depending on his success or upon the dangers which he may meet on the way. To the spirit world, the shaman conveys gifts of paper money and food, and the spirits are honoured with incense. A spirit enemy is driven away. As symbols of the shaman's renown, the jawbones of pigs sacrificed at his ceremonies are kept until the year's end. As an offering to the house spirit, feathers from a sacrificed chicken are stuck with blood onto his shrine. Every Miao has, in addition to his souls which stay on earth while he is living, a soul which dwells in heaven. These counterpart souls of men are the domestic animals of the gods, often the pigs of the gods. The grandson of Lao Phai has been pale for several months. The shaman has said that he has seen in heaven that Tao is a pig whom the gods intend to slaughter for a feast. Therefore, he orders that a real pig be now sacrificed to the gods in order to save him. Tao is marked with the blood of the pig so that the gods will recognize him as the boy for whom the offering has been made. The shaman seeks benefit for all the members of the household, and then the spirit leaves him. The assistant of the shaman and all the men of the household pay him respects. The assistant, like full mediums, bears a cross on his back as a sign that his spirit once went to heaven but was granted extra time on earth. All the household join in the sacrificial food. When the meal is over, chicken leg bones are studied. The number and direction of holes in the right leg tell the future of events in the house, and those in the left leg of events outside it. In the last days of April, the monsoon is about to break. The paddy must be planted before it comes, but only just before, so that the shoots will not wither. The seed is left uncovered in the punch holes. All Lao Tong's household join in the work, his 2 wives, his son and his wife, and all the children who are old enough. For nearly 2 years now, Leng has had a skin disease. His mother Sa and his father Tong have sought the advice of a shaman and been told that his soul is wandering outside the village, reluctant to return home. They have been advised to build him a golden bridge. The ceremony is held at the junction of the tracks from the fields into the village. All Leng's clansmen and many other fellow villagers come along. When the soul of a child is lost, planks may be set in the ground, or raised platforms covered with roofs may be built over tracks or streams. In earthly eyes, they are planks and platforms of wood. In the soul's eyes, they are paths or bridges of precious metals, fenced to stop the soul falling off with gold and silver cords. On the far edge, paper money and a cock are given to the spirits as ransom for Leng's soul. Leng is taken to the outer side of the bridge where his soul has been lingering. He is dressed in his best costume to attract his soul. While the feast is made ready, the people enjoy the holiday. The first person who passes by on his way to the village is invited to lead Leng across the bridge. Someone has probably been warned in advance. Kakor, the shaman, takes the omens and summons Leng across the bridge. Leng is Tong's only son. Every man wishes to have sons, not only for the reasons of affection and help in work, but because sons will give support at the time when they will be most lonely, in death. Leng is reunited with his father, who will try to follow the instructions of the shaman to guard him against being lost again. Kakor wins the assurance of the spirits to keep harm from Leng in future. Now there can be feasting for all the spirits and all the people to end the day. For Leng, it must be a memorable day, on which he had built, just for him, a bridge of gold. Ko, the eldest of Lao Tong's daughter by his first wife, seems always busy. The more firewood got in now, the easier it will be when the heavy rains come. Towards the end of July, in the middle of the wet season, the maize harvest begins.
cho tới nơi chưa nô trò sáng cha khó chữ nhớ chữ ta nhà tới nơi chưa nô trò sáng nhớ chữ ta họ cha khó chữ nhớ chữ cái
From his 4 acres, Ju gets enough to feed all his pigs, to provide food for his own family if paddy stocks get used up, and to make his festival whisky. Even before all the maize is harvested, the first poppies are planted. In August they are weeded and thinned, and at this stage they can be eaten as a vegetable. Maize for human food is pounded like paddy. That for pig food is ground into flour. Juyi's daughter works hard for her household. If she is lost through marriage, her bride price will help to compensate them, as well as ensuring that she is properly valued by her husband's family. Women manufacture clothing. The thread is made from Indian hemp, grown in paddy or maize fields. The green bark is taken off in strips, which are then allowed to dry. The next stage is to join the threads. The winding is started on the hand, but to allow the coil to grow big, it is transferred to a removable skewer. Although not tied, but just twisted together, the joins are invisible and strong once the thread has been spun. The thread is taken off the spindles and put into skeins. This is to spread it out so that it can be cleaned of excess vegetable matter by boiling. Wood ash is added to the water to whiten the thread. It is boiled for 3 days. It is rinsed in the stream and pressed beneath a roller to remove water and ash. The skeins are then dried on a rotary frame and the thread wound off into baskets. The thread is now ready for weaving. The coils from the different baskets are set out and the thread arranged to form the warp of the loom. Other coils of thread to make the woof are wound to fit the shuttle. The threads of the warp are sorted and then wound onto the roller of the loom. Nu, the second wife of Lao Tong, and Sao, her sister-in-law, live in neighbouring houses, but they prefer to weave together. The older women usually weave enough cloth for all their family and make the men's clothes. But the sewing and decorating of the women's costumes is generally a matter for the wearer from an early age. The basic batik patterning, a characteristic of the blue meow, is marked with hot wax on the cloth intended for the women's costumes. The cloth is immersed in blue dye, made by soaking the leaves of a particular plant in water, treating it with lime and then with maize alcohol. The wax is removed by boiling. A little dye runs into the part previously covered by it, leaving a design of light blue on darker blue. The embroidering of costumes is a constant job of girls and women throughout the year. Industrious and clever girls may do more, but every girl tries to have at least one new kilt ready to wear for the first time at the Great New Year Festival.
tiền năng ha thì chương trình chủ lên để đi chùa chân ha chủ thị cô nhân thành tên là người áp dụng cô thanh cho rằng áp dụng sang được chương năng mang mang phụ ta họ được dùng năng chắc không lại.
Finally, the pleats are stitched together until the kilt is to be worn. The pleats will become permanent if the garment is kept rolled up tightly for a while. All the village households have huts or smaller houses in the countryside, where they live while work on their fields is at its height. In the increasing sunshine of October, the fast-growing poppies need their second weeding. Iju and her sister Pai help their father's brother's wife on her field, singing as they work. November sees the paddy harvest. If the field is large, not only all household members, but brothers of the household head and their families may be called upon to help. The paddy is threshed in the field to be taken afterwards to the village. Gourds grown in the paddy fields are dried for water containers. Paddy will be pounded only as needed, perhaps only for 2 or 3 days at a time. Often the paddy which the Miao grow provides food for only half the year, and they must use some of the proceeds of the opium crop to buy the rest. The paddy is barely harvested before the first poppies are ready for tapping, although the opium harvest will run through all December and perhaps late into January. The tapping instrument is made from 3 blades sharpened separately and so bound together that one stroke on the poppy head will make 3 cuts of different depths into the skin. Poppy heads are tapped only if mature. They are skillfully cut so that the sap will exude outwards rather than become absorbed in the seed. It is left to congeal for several hours until the harvesters come to it on their second trip through the fields. Vegetables planted amongst the poppies provide important food. As he is working alone, Tong makes convenient containers for his opium out of poppy petals. The Miao do not usually treat opium any further before using it or selling it. In the village, opium is smoked mainly by the older men and sometimes old women, because younger men are becoming aware of the risks of addiction. Carlau, now retired as headman, has smoked in moderation for years. A small pellet of raw opium is moulded and roasted over a lamp burning pork oil. Some of the pipe bowls are prized ancestral possessions, and in fact originated from Annamese potters more than 5 centuries ago. Carlau usually smokes only 3 or 4 pipes a day, in the evening, after all his work is done. Most of the opium is sold and the money spent to buy rice and other goods, often from Yunanese Chinese traders who have traditionally associated with the Miao. Nowadays, if a harvest has been good, a radio may be bought. And because it was outstandingly good last year, a new fashion in aluminium roofs has come. The size of fields belonging to different households varies. Pioneers in a new territory can stake large claims, and success in one year may breed greater success in the next, because opium or money is then available to hire the labour of poorer neighbouring Karen tribesmen. With 6 acres of fields, Lao Tong is one of the most successful. He was a pioneer and he has a large family, but his crops are getting poorer and he has no land in reserve. Many of his fellow clansmen, worse off than he, are planning to move, and he feels he must soon go with them. It is the traders, with multiplying profit all down the line, from village to world capitals, who get the wealth from opium. In a good year, the Miao get enough for their food and comfort, and to accumulate a small store of silver, much of which they must sell again in bad years, or to sustain them when they are migrating. Because they are solid silver, rupees, Indian or Burmese, are still the favoured currency in the hills, and the only form of money acceptable in bridal exchanges. Ju Yi has had a good opium year, and so is adding to his household stock of silver neck rings. In many ways they may be of value to him, as wealth held in reserve, as a means to obtain wives for his sons, and as ornaments for his daughters at the coming New Year festival. Several men in the villages can make the rings, but Ju Yi is the most skilled. As the new one has to be cleaned, all the household's rings are brightened up for the coming festival. The boys play one of the oldest games of mankind. For the 12th time, the moon is waning. On the second day of its next rising, usually in December by the Western calendar, the great festival will begin, climaxing the old year and celebrating the birth of the new. The crops, too, must share in the festival. A sheaf of paddy, symbolic of all the paddy, is collected from the field by a household representative just before the festival begins. And he calls on the souls of the maize and the paddy and all the spirits of the countryside to come along also. From glutinous rice and sugar, special festival cakes are made. Maize, mixed with yeast, wrapped in leaves and stored underground for a week, provides the basis of the festival spirit. The cakes, wrapped in leaves, are baked and exchanged between friendly households. It is said that the first of the spirit is strongest, but none of it is allowed to suffer from age. On the first morning of the festival, while final sacrifices are made to the house spirit, Jew completes her dressing. All the finery the unmarried girls have made throughout the year can now be displayed, proudly before fellow clansmen and alluring to boys of other clans and strangers who may come from afar. Young boys play tops at any time, the men only at the festival when they are young again. Each man tries to win for himself or his team by knocking out the opposing top and keeping his spinning. Pie dresses with special care, twining in a switch made from hair preserved from earlier combings.
家个开灯个那了个子路中当个东家给都是说主。
The social highlight of the festival is the ball game, more a ball than a game, the costume display of the unwed young, courtship clothed in fun. There are other games as well, but the abiding interest is in the ball game. On the first day, boys and girls play with one another more or less indiscriminately. On the second day, they are beginning to sort out favoured partners, but they're still not usually playing for forfeits. The younger married men of the village engage in sports not so obviously connected with the girls. Resting a while from the ball game, Iju sings a festival song. It tells of a girl who loved a boy and hoped to marry him, but on the festival day he saw another girl and deserted her. She asks him why. He says that she is too poor. Her family cannot afford plates and must eat off leaves. The new girl is beautiful and rich. The forsaken girl returns to her family, telling them that the boy does not wish to marry her because of their poverty. On the third and last day of the festival, the devoted ball players have selected their partners. If a player can reach the ball with only one hand, a miss does not matter. But if a fair throw is missed, a forfeit must be paid. Because the boys are stronger and the girls may be happier to lose, the girls yield most forfeits. In the evening, when the game is over, the boys may approach the girls' houses, softly play the Jew's harp with its messages of love, and invite the girls to recover their forfeits. The festival is over. The new year will be spent in another place. A few people still have enough good land to stay longer in the Meadow district. But most villagers feel that it is time to leave for fresh land, and the few who would like to stay fear being left alone. Meadow will be completely abandoned to return in a few years to the forest. Not all the people will go in the same direction. Some may travel 100 miles or more to join other relatives. Those who do not intend to go far carry their house planks with them. So, every 15 years, or 10, or even 5, the Meow people move on. South, east, west, or even back north again, as long as the hills remain.